Hello, welcome to this week's That Monday Face with myself,
Hello.
Andy, co-host Sarah,
Woo.
and our guest this week is Craig.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
So, welcome everyone. This is going out on YouTube and podcast. This will be episode 3, and this one is titled Craig Bryant, growing up in Lancashire during the 1900s. It isn't like 1901 or like the 1920s. It's like the 60s, 70s, 80s ish. So, but
Victorian era.
Yeah, but the good thing is we're all from the northwest. Craig's a bit more east,
North.
west.
A bit more
West.
north. Yeah, a bit more north.
Yeah.
You're a bit more northwest than us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Craig's from Blackburn area.
Can tell.
Accrington. I'm from Swinton, and Sarah is from
Just Manchester, just
the centre.
just outside of Manchester, yeah.
Living in bins or out of bins.
Yeah. I know, yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
speaking of bins, I saw a massive skip today with a chair in it, and I took a picture for you.
oh, thanks.
I'll send it,
I
yeah.
have to go around in my van and get it. Oh, right. So we're going to be talking about growing up in the Lancashire area, or Lancashire County, I should say, from what, mid-60s onwards?
Yeah, sort of 70s really, 80s, 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
I don't remember much for the first few years.
No. Same. I don't remember much from yesterday, let alone 40 years ago. But it can't have been that different for you where you were in Accrington growing up.
No. I mean, I think the whole of the northwest was it was a bit Coronation Street, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I think that's.
It was even a bit like that. Sorry, it's
Yeah.
delayed. It was even a little bit like that with me. I know I'm 90s, but it felt very Coronation Street even with me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was very. I mean, we lived in a like a 1930s semi-detached house, so we were quite posh, really. But my grandparents lived in a 2 up, 2 down terraced house, and it was like Coronation Street where she lived. You know, everybody knew everybody. Everybody, sort of knew everybody else's business. My grandma, would have a pinny on with a, like a sort of headscarf when she was, brushing the kitchen out on a Monday morning, and it was like they were just sort of hanging on to the way that they were. I mean, they could still remember the Second World War, so it was still they were still living to that. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, which is why it's interesting to talk about this, because it's sort of like it's a generation now that's gone, and people don't realize just what it was like, sort of living in that environment, because it was they still were very much there. That they had a hangover from the war, so they still used to scrimp and scrape. They still, I mean, I could spend an hour talking about cooking. The food that she used to cook. I mean, my 17-year-old James, he's nearly sick when I tell him some of the stuff that we used to eat. So and I still cook quite a bit of the stuff that I learned to cook off my grandparents and my dad as well. When my dad were alive, he used to, he used to cook things like rabbit and tripe and cow eel and black puddings and all the proper good stuff. But you stick it under the nose of a child these days, and they're like, and they're off.
Yeah. But speaking of black pudding, I've actually had black pudding tonight.
Fantastic.
Oh,
but it's
no, I don't like
it's got to be a berry black pudding or a burry black pudding, depending on where you come from.
Well, these are from, just quickly, it's from a farmer's shop down the road. But they're massive. They're like that, and They're that size, and I think they're like £9 or £6. And I
Right.
went to get one cut because I didn't want a full one. Kill someone. And it was dearer to get a cut than it was a full one.
Yeah.
When I'll just get a full one. You can freeze it, cut it up and just freeze it.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Don't like black pudding.
Love it. Absolutely
No.
love it.
No.
But I think they get some of their ingredients. I'm sure they get them from Rotten Stall up that way.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, because that's pretty close to Bury.
Yeah.
It's only about 5 miles, if that, outside of Bury. So it's like the posh end. It's like the posh end.
The nice bit.
And it's a good night out. Apparently, they've got a lot of micro breweries and pubs and stuff in.
What, in Bury?
Yeah, in Bury and Ramsbottom and all around there. It's supposed to be really good.
I've had 2 nights out in Bury, and after the first one, I said I was never going again. After the second one, I've not been again.
No, it's a long time since I've been to Bury, but I did actually. Yeah. I was actually seeing somebody from Bury for quite a while when I was younger.
Yeah.
Before I got hitched to the current Mrs. Craig. So so I know the area quite well actually. Although it's changed. We're talking.
Yeah, it's like anywhere, isn't it?
30 years ago now, when I was knocking around Bury. But yeah, no, black puddings, you can't beat them. Where I live now, near Pendle Hill, it's quite close to Yorkshire. I mean, you can see the border. It's like Mordor over there, and they do. And I'm ashamed to say it, but they actually do a really good black pudding. But it's triangular, so it's actually triangular shaped. So yeah, it's weird. So I get it.
Are they not just cooking Toblerone?
It looks like a Toblerone. It doesn't taste like a Toblerone.
Why? Why that shape?
Proper black pudding. But yeah, no, it's just I suppose it looks different to any other one, doesn't it? So. But I get it from we have a butcher's where I live in the village, and he has them in. So yeah, sometimes get them. They're all right. They're quite passable for something from Yorkshire.
But yeah, you mentioned tripe as well. I always remember my granddad coming in, and it looked awful. Probably because it was.
Yeah.
And then come in with like this sheet of skin or whatever it was.
A slab of.
It's just his
jelly.
It's a kind
it looked like it reminded me of semolina at school. But they dried it and he just in a shape.
We always, I think it was. I mean, we used to have the same meals every night because this was like in the 70s, so this was when I was sort of little, less sort of like 10 years old or whatever, bit less than that maybe. And my mum and dad both worked late, so I used to go to my grandma and granddad's for tea. You see, so every night we used to have the same thing for tea, and it's funny because my wife, her family from her dad's family was from Atherton, near Wigan. Yeah. I mean, she's a few years younger than me, but she had the same sort of thing with her grandparents where they used to have the same meal every night. And my granddad used to make tripe and chips, and you could get different sorts of tripe. You can't get it anymore now. But you used to be able to get a tripe that was called elder, and it was like a sort of brownie colour. Now that was really, really good. That honestly, that was that. But the white stuff, I mean, it just didn't taste much at all. But we always used to have tripe and chips. And my granddad he had a proper chip pan, Northerners,
Set your house on fire, chip pan.
Set your house on fire with lard, basically.
Yeah, my grandma used to cook everything in lard.
Fantastic.
Everything.
I've got
keep
some
it
in
in
the
the
fridge
pen
now.
as well.
Yeah, no, I've got some in the fridge now. Honestly, I do. I still cook with it because bollocks to it. If I was sorry language. I've got 57. If my arteries are going to go, they might as well go now. I might as well enjoy myself. But my granddad used to. He had a proper chip pan and chips and that, and they'd come out brown. He'd cook them for that.
Oh yeah.
Really, really brown. Not like the bloody insipid stuff you get. Insipid, oven chips you get now that are just like yellow. These used to come out brown, and they had a proper sort of deep fried lard taste. And something else he used to do, and all that. And I've told Sarah this, and it completely freaked her out. He used to make fried eggs in the chip pan. So he used to crack an egg.
Sure, my grandma used to do that,
and it used to come out.
Good way of cooking, but
it was fantastic. Honestly, best thing ever. So I mean,
don't mind a crispy egg.
We had a fairly unhealthy diet. I think we had a fairly unhealthy diet. The other thing that I still get hold of now if I can, but I have to go to Preston Market, which is about 20. Well, Preston's about 20 odd mile away from here. Yeah. Because you can't. Again, it's something that over the years you can't get, and this'll probably make you completely throw up. But have you heard of cow eel? Yeah.
I've not.
What's
that?
Well, it's cow's foot.
And don't they make it so it goes all soft and gooey?
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So you cook it in
like jelly,
like a stew. So you
cook
it, yeah, so you cook it with so it comes like tripe basically. Yeah, so they've washed it and they've bleached it and they've done all that stuff to it. Right? You really regretted having me on there, aren't you? And then you cut it up and you cook it in a stew with beef and carrots, and it makes the gravy go all nice and thick and gelatinous.
Oh, it's like it's all the gelatin in it.
Yeah.
Basically,
they use it now for gelatin and all that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And I mean, all this stuff was like really cheap food. That's why they used to. That's why they used to to get it and cook it.
Yeah.
But I mean, never did me any harm. And strangely enough, when my son was very little, before he actually knew what he was putting in his mouth, I used to actually make cow eel stew, and just give him a bowl of it with a few slices of bread when he were a toddler, and he'd just dip the bread in and just suck it, and he'd love it, honestly. And I've got pictures of him. And he's 17 now. He's nearly 18, of course. So I tell him, and he's like, he just
out.
Yeah. But I showed him on a really old grainy video on my phone that I've got from 17, 16 years ago. And I show him, and he's like, "No, Dad, that's not me. That's not me. That's not." But it were. And he used to love it. But of course, he won't go anywhere near it now. But he has discovered kippers. That's something else. But that's different.
Oh, my gran used to do kippers all the time in the paper, folded in the paper.
Yeah.
And you just leave it out. She only put it in the paper to stop the cat getting it.
Yeah.
Put like a press thing on top.
Yeah.
My gran used to do dried flower pressing. Do all the arts and crafts. So you know the matchsticks, and you could build like the Eiffel Tower and Big Ben and all that. And she used to do shipping a bottle and oil paintings and everything. So she had our little bits of gadgets, like 70s gadgets, not like today. She'd put it in a press, but only to stop the cat from getting it.
Yeah.
Or my granddad, one of the two. Yeah,
probably you. Probably your granddad.
Stunk, probably. It was awful.
But, there's a really good place near a place called Glaston Dock near Lancaster, where they do their own smoking. Port of Lancaster Smokehouse, and they do all sorts of stuff. Kippers, obviously, and potted shrimps, and like smoked duck breast, and smoked bacon and all that sort of stuff. And we have a bit of a trip out every now and then. We have a drive out, and we come back with some kippers, and he loves them. So
not too bad.
Try kippers and cows.
Oh, no.
I bet you wish you hadn't asked me on now, don't you? Be having nightmares
here's
about my diet. Go on.
Here's a question for you, and I'm not slagging my grandparents off or anything like that. I love them to bits, and I used to stay over at weekends. But this is the thing: the house used to smell tea bags, cat food,
Oh, right, okay.
and something else, but I can't remember what it was. But it was a
You know what
combination of it all.
No, my grandparents used to smell like Pears soap. Pears soap, the little orange,
Yeah.
You know, the little see-through one.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know if that was just I don't know if it's just like an old people thing.
Lavender.
So,
but the tea bags, because my granddad, he'd use a tea bag because he used to have the old like boiling kettle and have a tea cozy on top of it, and he'd reuse the tea bags as many times as he could.
Oh yeah, to squeeze as much out. Yeah. Well, you see, again, that's like a war thing, isn't it? You know, living through the war and that, and having to, having to scrape and stuff, and reuse, reuse stuff and that. So
we had me and my sister, even though we were the 90s, I think we were probably one of the last generations to experience a bit of an upbringing like that, because we did. My grandma was very wartime from her mum, and we'd have stew, because we'd have tea every night, and we were there every night midweek, and she'd have stew on the stove for like 3 days, and she'd just top it up, and she wouldn't waste it, and it would just sit there. And then if we weren't having stew, it was something like bacon chops with cabbage, and dead nice.
Potato ash.
Just
reminded me.
Lancashire hot pot.
Yeah, hot pot.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much the same thing, isn't it? You used to have a big pressure cooker with it all in.
They love the batch cooking.
They used to just leave it going.
Dishes.
There were no health and safety in them days. There were no such thing as salmonella. Cat probably got in there.
There was, but you just walk it off.
They just say it made them a better person. They just moan out, I wasn't like that in my day.
Well, they used to do a lot more. They used to do a lot more manual work, didn't they, as well? And they used to. I mean, they did used to walk a lot more than we did. My granddad had a car and that, but they still used to. I mean, he still did quite a manual job right until he retired. So so all this fat in it and everything in your food, they just used to keep them going. Just used to burn it off, didn't they? Which is why they were all stick fit.
Well, what my dad's dad, he was a miner, and he ended up he'd done something to his leg. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he used to have to wear a caliper. So I'd go around and I'd put it on my leg and stick about with this caliper, nearly breaking my neck trying to walk with it on. It's fitted into his shoe, so you can't take it out. And then my mum's dad, he's an engineer in the RAF. He travelled all over the world. I think that was World War II.
My granddad was as well. Yeah, my mum's dad.
He was in like Trinidad and India, and he'd go to all these exotic places,
right?
As well as the crappy ones as well.
Yeah.
But then when he come out of that, I don't know. Obviously, before I was born, but then he ended up working for. It's kind of like it was still mining, but it was MEL, Magnesium Electron Limited. Do you know there's Flintstones that you throw and spark? They used to mine them.
Oh, right,
that was down near Clifton, going out towards Agecroft in Salford.
Yeah.
Don't know if you know it.
I do know. Yeah.
And I know he worked there until he retired. So that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
My granddad was a milkman, and he I remember going on his float, on his milk float, just when it was like no seat belts. Me and Emma used to sit on one side of the milk float with it being open. Do you remember they don't do it now, but they had like the pop guy, the cordial man.
Alpine.
These random little carts.
Yeah, you get 6 bottles for the price.
You just give them the empty bag.
And you get the bar ones, I think it was, and you take them back to the shop, and you get 10p back per bottle.
Yeah. Yeah, that was recycling before recycling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a thing. Yeah. Do you remember the rag and bone man?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I used to
rag and
love
bone man.
when you knew, I think it's every other Tuesday or something, and you'd listen and you'd hear him.
You'd hear him
It's
coming.
like you'd run out and just to see his horse or
Yeah.
pony or whatever
Yeah.
mule, more of a mule than horse.
Yeah,
round
well,
there,
yeah. I mean, 1970s, like I say. I mean, it was he'd still come down to where my grandma lived, on a horse and cart.
Yeah.
Even in 70s. I mean, it were like something at Steptoe and Son,
Yeah. But it was like a highlight of the week, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it were. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to look forward to.
Don't
Bragg
know what he did with all rubbish he got, like, but must have done something to it.
No idea.
But yeah, just going back to what grandparents did. I mean, my mum's parents were the ones that I spent most of my time with, and my grandma worked in the mills. She worked in cotton mills until probably just before I was born, so probably mid-60s. And she could lip read like nobody's fashion, because it was so noisy in the mills that they used to just, the only way they could communicate was by lip reading. So when she used to hang over the dividing wall between her house and next door, Les Dawson sketch.
Yeah.
Well, it was just like that.
It was like,
but there wasn't a sound came out of the lips, because they were talking to each other, but they were lip reading, because they were talking about Elsie down at number 43, who was having it away with the rag and bone man.
Gossip.
Yeah, all the gossip. So it was all lip reading. So she worked in the mills. My granddad was he used to call them shop fitters. He worked for a company that used to make weaving machines. Company in Accrington called Howard and Buller. I mean, they're gone now. But everybody in the town used to work there. My dad worked there. My mum worked there. My auntie and uncle worked there. My granddad worked there. Everybody's family all used to work. And when places like that shut down, which it did in the 1980s, it was sold to an American company, and they obviously made lots of people redundant. And that. I mean, it has a massive effect on towns, because 3/4 of the workforce are suddenly out of work, and it was. I remember it was quite a bad thing, but he worked there for years. He was in the Second World War. He was in the RAF out in North Africa. Used to fix the planes basically when they came back.
Same as my granddad.
So I've got photographs and stuff of him, when he was, in his uniform and that. Other side of the family, my dad's family, a little bit more murky. I won't go into my grandma too much, because she didn't have a particularly pleasant end. But my granddad died in 1968, so I was only 2. I do vaguely remember. I mean, people ask me what my earliest memory is, and it's probably him bouncing me up and down on his knee, sat in his chair in the kitchen, and I can just about remember that. And I've got photographs of him and stuff, and I've got his. He was in World War One. He fought in World War One, and he was because he was getting on when he had my dad. He was about it was late 40s. When he had my dad, so because my grandma was on a second marriage by this stage, it's all a bit murky, our family history on that side of the family. But my granddad came from Suffolk, and he came up after the First World War at some stage. We don't really know when, but as I say, he fought in the First World War. He was in the Suffolk Regiment. He lost a brother. One of his brothers was killed. He fought at Arras, Battle of Arras. So it was one of the, I think it was 1917. My dad didn't talk much about my granddad, because I don't think my granddad talked much about it. But the few things that he did say about the trenches and stuff were were really horrific. You know, they were shooting rats to survive. You know, eating rats to survive, and you know they were waist deep in mud, and you know there were people dying. You know, blokes dying all around, and he was traumatized by all accounts when he came back, and he was never quite the same person again.
No.
He spent, I think he locked himself away in a bedroom for about 3 years after he came back after the war.
Wow.
And he just, you know, he only ever came out to eat and wash, and that was
Wow.
that. And he just kept himself to himself. And he was, you know, I mean, these days it's obvious. I mean, it's obvious PTSD. And these, you know, these poor guys were carrying that for the rest of their lives. They didn't know who to talk to. They didn't know how to talk about it.
No.
And I think it just shows how lucky we are, you know, that we've never had to sort of go through that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, I've got a few bits and pieces that, you know, of his possessions and what have you.
Yeah.
I've got a gold pocket watch that was his. That was a 40th birthday present, I think, by the dates and everything. So I've got that, and you know, I've got photographs and that, but I don't really remember him that much. But you know, I mean, he's the sort of relative that I'd love to be able to have sat down and just talk to, and you know, hopefully opened up about and that. So, but yeah, because I've done a lot of family history and traced my family tree and that, and you know, I've managed to talk to some elderly living relatives on my mum's side of the family, but you know, we've nobody left on my dad's side of the family that's still alive up here anyway. So but it was interesting talking to my mum's side of the family and that, about what it was like when they were growing up, you know, in between the war and that, in between the wars, you know, like early 1900s and that, you know. So
well, it's like my mum. There was 10 brothers and sisters, so there's like 8 sisters and 2 brothers, and the age gap from the eldest to the youngest is 20 years, or thereabouts.
Well, they didn't have to tell us.
I know, just going to say, lots of big families.
They didn't use it.
It's a big age gap, though, isn't it, when you think about it? You know, I mean, you know, 20 years of looking after kids of various different ages. It must have been, you know.
There's always a baby. There's always a baby to look after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and imagine, I mean, teenagers must have been teenagers even back in those days. You know, they must have been hard work. You know, so imagine having a couple of babies, and then, you know,
it's kind of a group effort, though, wasn't it? Like a bit of a group effort. Like people just the old
the whole street
the
everyone would look after everyone. Same as just quickly, like me growing up. Your mum used to work evenings. She used to work. I think it was for a catalogue company. I think it was K's. He used to be down the canal near Monton, going out towards Peel Green. So the neighbours used to babysit for us because my dad used to work evenings as well. So, and my dad worked at Chloride. They was based in Overalton. I think he started either just 2 days before or 2 days after I was born, and stayed until he retired. So he worked there. So me and my brother, there's only me and my brother. He's 3 years older than me. So we'd stay like with neighbours. We lived in there's only 10 houses in the street. So like Craig was saying before, everyone knew everything you was doing. They knew what you was doing before you'd done it. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, I was just looking up. Actually, I'd remembered a book that's a really good read, and it's set in between the wars, and it's a guy called William Woodruff who went over to America. He emigrated to America, but it's called The Road to Nab End, and he grew up in Blackburn. In between the war, and you know, quite a big family, lots of brothers and sisters and that, and that's a really good sort of like snapshot of life. You know, a poor family, you know, living in a two down house, you know, with like, you know, 5 brothers and 6 sisters, and you know, 5 boys in one room and 6 sisters in the other. I mean, my mum's dad, he was, again, similar to you, Andy. He was one of 11. So I think there were 6 boys and 5 girls, and they lived in a 2 up 2 down house.
Wow.
And one bedroom had a bed in with 5 boys, and the other bedroom had a bed in with 6 girls. And the mum and dad used to sleep in a bed down in the parlour in the front room. And then the back room, the back room was where they did. It was literally they had a range, open fire, did all the cooking on that. There was no inside bathroom. I mean, I remember when my grandma and granddad got their inside bathroom fitted. So I mean, we're talking early 1970s. They still had an outside kludgy, as they used to call it, and like they had a tin bath. They literally did have a tin bath.
Say that.
And I remember being bathed as a toddler in front of the range cooker, in a tin bath. So that was only like early 1970s, So I mean, we're only talking,
Did you ever bath in a sink?
Yeah,
like the kitchen sink.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I remember.
Not just me then.
No. My grandma used to bath me in the sink.
Yeah, it was just easier for her to do it than fill a bath up, and
I'm sure she was washing up liquid as well.
It was. Yeah, do you know?
Probably put the pots in at the same time. Do it all in one.
Honestly, washing up liquid. I remember blowing bubbles with it. Honestly, and there was me and my brother. There's me and my sister who were 90, and my brother who was. Saying that he was 98, so he was only a baby. Even he was getting bathed in the sink at my grandma's. We used to every morning and every night we were there at my grandma's for a long time because my parents worked in the day full time. Yeah. And we'd get in the morning and we'd have we're queuing up to have our little wash in the sink, and then she'd cut our hair over the sink. Yeah.
You all had bowl cuts. Did you all have bowl cuts?
Yes, I did.
Oh yeah,
with the one pair of scissors that were used for cutting everything else in the house,
including
bacon. What it was, and you know what? I can still remember them scissors. Honestly,
it lasted about 25 years.
Yeah, you buy a pair now, and the snaps in. Actually, snapped a pair. Trying to cut through a piece of plastic.
They got blunt.
See, the best pair of scissors I've had are from IKEA. I've got a pair of scissors I've had for 12 years from IKEA.
Really? Yeah. Well, I'm going next week.
They're really good. They're like, you'll know them. They're in the multi-pack. They've got red, yellow, and blue.
Yeah.
The red ones are they are strong.
IKEA is not a natural environment for me. IKEA is not a natural environment for me. It's not.
Is it not?
I love IKEA.
You not do it?
No, don't do IKEA. I've been dragged around it.
If I know what I'm getting, I'm all right.
Worst place ever.
Yeah. I go for the big
shopping. I don't do shoe shopping either.
I went to get a plastic tub. It was like £3. We got to the till, and it's £360.
Yeah.
I only went for a plastic tub.
I know, it's ridiculous.
It's all the little bits along the way.
A little bits, a lot of money, yeah.
It's like when you go supermarket shopping, isn't it? You go in for a loaf of bread and you come out 300 quid lighter.
Yeah, it is.
You do it in a minute.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I remember. I mean, I was thinking today when you asked me to come on about, sort of thinking about what I can remember and that, and I've got a lot of really fond memories of when I used to spend time with my grandma and granddad. I mean, they were really, sort of. I'd have to say cosy times. You know what I mean? We used to sit in front. I mean, like I said, she had a range cooker in the back of the house, in the sort of kitchen area, kitchen living area, really. And we used to sit in front of this old blackened range cooker, and especially in the 70s when we had the power cuts. So we'd be sat in front of that with candles all around and that, and that's when making toast with toasting forks and that in front of the fire, eating toast that tasted of coal, and and I mean that's where my love of sort of paranormal stuff came from, because my granddad used to just tell loads of stories when we were sat there.
Right. Yeah.
He used to tell ghost stories and used to tell stories about all the local legends and stuff, and I'm sure most of them he used to make up. He used to make up because he was a really good storyteller and that. But I still really enjoy thinking about, just sitting there and listening to him talk and that, And I've got a wood burning stove in the house here where I live, and I just love, especially in winter, I just love turning all the lights off and just sitting in front of it, in the dark with it, because it just reminds me of when I was a little boy, they're just really nice memories,
Yeah, no, it is.
But yeah, power cuts and 3-day weeks, and
do you know what? I can actually tell you what the worst power cut was for me. I probably was in tears. I got him going from school. My mum was at work. My dad was there. He was cooking us dinner, probably mash and beans or something. And I was watching Roddle, and Emu. Used to absolutely loved it, and it was a scary one. I don't think it was a Halloween one, but you had all like ghosts and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And the power went.
Oh no!
And it went for about 6 hours. Oh, no. And I'm like, I just want to watch the telly. I just wanted to watch this one program, and that was it. Nothing else. Absolutely gutted.
They used to turn them off at certain times, didn't they? They'd know when they were going off. Yeah. So they'd know when the power were going off and that.
Yeah, you get a couple of flickers on the light, and I think it's like a couple of minute warning.
Yeah, so and then like my mum or me, she'd be up.
Get the tin from under the sink.
Candle, tin from under the sink. Candles out and lighting up candles, and then lights would go out, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
Go to bed with a candle like Wee Willie Winky. I'm surprised half the population didn't burn down. Going to bed with a candle by your bedside and that, like it.
Why did the lights go off?
You are.
Why did the lights go off?
They shut the electric down because it was cheaper.
Well, there was oil shortages.
Yeah, the coal and all that, wasn't it?
Mid-70s.
Power stations.
Yeah, I mean the coal miners were going on strike, weren't they? Because the unions had them all out on strike because they wanted more money. We couldn't get any oil into the country because there was like problems in the Middle East. Surprise, surprise. So there was no oil coming out of the Middle East. So they had to go down to like a 3-day working week. So people would just work for 3 days, and then the other the other 2 days they'd just not be working because all the factories had shut down, and you couldn't get petrol for your car and stuff like that, and all the power stations and that could only run for like half of the time because they didn't have the fuel to produce electricity and stuff. So for I think it was over one winter, really, more than any. I can't remember when it was.
It felt like it went on for about
mid
5
years. I think, and they'd sort of newspapers had they'd said the times and the days that the power were going off and that. So my grandma used to have it pinned up on the wall, in the kitchen. Yeah. So she knew when the power was going off.
See, I didn't know that. Do you know what? You just reminded me. In 20, 30, 40 years from now, people will talk about COVID like that.
Oh, yeah.
About that whole weird time of COVID.
Yeah, they will.
And how strange.
But,
I didn't know that.
But were you speaking of petrol then, Craig? Was it 2-star or 4-star?
Well, if you had a posh car...
You won't even know this, will you, Sarah?
No.
A 2-star was more for like a motorbike or something that wasn't going to go far or fast. And 4-star were for like your Jaguars and Cortinas and all that.
I feel like I've just come out of the womb.
So where you've got unleaded now, these used to be full of lead.
Yeah, the 4-star have more lead in.
Yeah,
the 4-star have more lead in it. Than
I was going to say it's better for your engine. It's less chance of your engine cutting out.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it used to lubricate the engine, didn't it? The lead, basically.
So
and then when unleaded petrol came in, it was like, oh my god, it's this newfangled.
But they still call it unleaded. Why don't you just call it petrol?
Yeah. I've never thought about why they call it unleaded.
It's just
stuck been about 30 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Did it still smell nice though?
I love the smell of petrol.
Did leaded petrol still smell like unleaded?
No,
I like
smelled like death.
really manky diesel.
Yeah, it was awful.
Oh, right.
Like
I don't
manky
like the
diesel
smell of
smells
petrol.
like now. I got stuck. I was picking my lad up from college today, and we're coming back, and I got stuck behind it was a 2010 plate diesel. Honestly, absolutely stunk.
Really.
You know, really, really bad. So
See, I had this conversation with myself the other day. So I was fueling up my car's diesel and the van's diesel, and the car either at the front of me or at the side of me was filling up with petrol, and I'm like, oh my! I've had the diesel car I've had them both, the car and the van, for 5 years. I've worked where I'm working now 5 years, and I've had the car just over 5 years. So I've not ever smelled petrol.
And you were like,
I'm like, oh my God, is this sad or is this really good that I have missed the smell?
is this some sort of fetish you've got, Andy?
No idea.
Do you like dunk your victims in petrol first?
Nah.
We used to roll the back window down when we were filling up with petrol just to get
get a whiff.
It doesn't smell. Yeah, to get a whiff. It doesn't smell as strong now as I remember it. I remember it used to stink the car out.
Yeah.
And we were only little, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. 24.
And we were like,
I was probably in my 40s then when you were about 9.
But
I know.
But I think I must be used to the smell of diesel because I can't recall smelling diesel lately, unless it's burning out someone's exhaust. Then it's different.
Yeah, I'm not posh. I don't have a diesel car, so I don't know what it smells like.
Talking about travel and that, do you remember the buses where you get on? You wouldn't pay to get on at the front. You go and sit down, and the bus conductor would come round with his little metal, look like some sort of musical instrument. What they call them?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, with the buttons on it, you do that.
Squeeze box, like a squeeze box. Call them, didn't they? Yeah.
So you tell you what you want, you put it in, and you do this, pull this thing down twice, and you get a yellow ticket, that colour yellow, but about quarter the size of that, with print on it that was barely readable.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you don't even get conductors on trains these days, do you?
No.
You know, but
you have no interaction with the driver. Nothing.
No. I don't do buses much now, to be honest. I mean, I do a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
I do train.
I do if I've got to go into town and it's like Christmas and that, it's like I know I'm not going to be able to park. I'm going to spend half the day looking for somewhere to park. I'm just going to get the bus.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a snob. I drive everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't use public transport. No, I drive everywhere for ease. I would rather spend ages looking for a space and have the convenience of just being able to jump in my car and go.
Yeah.
And sit in massive
that's the
traffic.
thing. So when I'm coming back with loads of bags, it's like I ain't getting on the bus with all this taxi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just all about convenience, isn't it?
Yeah, it is now.
Our lives, it's just all about convenience.
Definitely.
You know.
Yeah, it is.
I had to walk to school 8 miles in snow with bare feet.
But that's another thing. When it snowed, we would still go to school, and I'm talking like 2 foot deep in snow, and still have to go. Now, that much. Oh no! Shut the world down. No one can do anything.
Panic. I know.
Except you, Andy. You've got to go to work.
We used to have proper snow, didn't we? I mean, talking like like 1980s and that. We had a few winters where it was just proper. I used to live where I lived in Accrington. It was quite high up, so we used to get a lot. You know, it was one of the highest points in Lancashire. Well, highest inhabited points. And on a clear day, when you went up to the hill behind where we lived, you could see Blackpool Tower and right out to the coast.
Yeah,
which is like 30 or 30, 35 miles, something like that. So we're really high up, and we used to get a lot of snow. I remember as a kid going out and playing in it and that, and it was we just doesn't happen now,
No.
And if we do, like you say, we get half an inch of snow, the whole world falls apart. And kids are off school for a month if it snows for one day. It's
well, it used to snow that bad. We did have a big back garden. It's probably about 100 foot, 120 foot long at least, and probably about 75 foot wide. But my mum and dad used to have like a vegetable patch, strawberries, and like at the bottom it was all anything you can think of vegetables. They'd have it. So I'd go around making like snowmen. And there's one I made 5. There was that much snow. I was just from one snowfall. 5, and there's all probably about 3 foot tall. There's bigger than me. These snowmen.
Yeah. You couldn't get cars out of the drive for like 3 weeks at a time sometimes. And we had a double-decker bus got stuck just up the road from us in a snowdrift. It was that deep. It was halfway up the side of the double-decker bus.
Wow.
So and that was there for probably I don't know, a week. It's a place called Green Hour in Accrington. If anybody knows it, who's listening, really high up, and we just got snow dumped on with snow, but it was like for weeks at a time,
It was proper snow though, wasn't it? Not like you get now.
I don't know what shifted.
Proper snow. What?
I don't know what shifted because I remember having proper snow at Christmas time as well. Like not like a little drizzling of snow in March that we get now, but massive. I used to make a giant snowman with the neighbours. Used to roll this massive ball all the way around the streets.
Yeah.
But no.
Well, we won't get into global warming, eh?
No, we'll give that a miss. Leave that for that too.
Leave that for another time.
Yeah.
Growing up in global warming.
Well, I mean, it's kids these days don't know what it's like, do they?
I think
proper cold winters,
Yeah. I think we was the last lot really to have a real decent growing up life, because
it's different now. I mean, technology's taken over. I mean, I used to go out. We lived near a park, and we used to go out at 10 o'clock in the morning with a football, and we didn't used to come back till 6 o'clock at night. When it was tea.
Or when you got hungry.
Yeah.
When we got hungry, but we used to, roam for bloody miles and miles and miles. We had no mobile phones, and
but your parents would know where you were.
Panic,
they'd think they know where you were.
They had no idea where I were.
Well, we had the golf course, we had the woods, river, lake.
We used to play in there. We used to play in junkyards, like massive scrap yards.
In bins.
These massive scrap yards, and because I think anyone 30 and above, I think, were the last. Maybe even not even. I feel like they even 33. Mine was the last one. And because we used to play outside in junkyards, and they had this massive tunnel, like a sewage tunnel that went underground, and we used to go play in there. We used to follow it down, and we used to play on the railways, on the tracks, and make fires in dens next to the tracks in the trees. Like we were properly playing outdoors till the crack of dawn. My mum wouldn't even be up yet. We'd just grab whatever we could, straight out with our mates to knock on for him. And then we wouldn't be back until the street lights. We'd just come back if we're thirsty or hungry.
Yeah, and then go back out again.
Then go out again.
Straight back out. Yeah.
But you were saying earlier about the milkman. I was only about 8 or 9. I got a job with the milkman in the school summer holidays. I'd get up at 5 o'clock. He wasn't even our milkman. We had a different milkman. That was the best bit. I'd get off at like 5 o'clock. I'd hear his cart pulling, because the old electric cart's pulling up in the street. I'd get in it. And I was, Mum, go with Dave, milkman. I'd be out to like 2, 3 in the afternoon. But he'd buy me my dinner.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm not. Do not try this at home. He'd be writing it's got his log, his agenda book.
Yeah, his book.
He goes, just
Driving the car.
reach over and steer it as we're going down the main road through Swinton and Monton. And I'm like, we might die.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And no one cared. No seatbelts, nothing.
No.
Only did like 8 miles an hour, but
Associated Dairies, wasn't it, or something like that? Associated Dairies, I think it were. Yeah, we had milkmen like that.
Yeah.
And we lived at the top of a really steep hill, so it used to take him about an hour to get his milk float up to the top of the hill. Oh, he did, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, you try and get kids up at 5 o'clock this morning now to go out and do a part-time job.
No. I'm trying getting them up to do anything.
Well, just I was going to say. I mean, you just can't get them out of bed, can you?
Yeah.
But
I mean, my 8-year-old wants to be a TikToker. No, but he won't get out of bed.
No. Well, you can do it all from your bed, can't you? You don't have to get out of bed to do that.
Exactly.
But I couldn't wait to get up and go out.
No, I
was always the first one up. I'd walk. Like, my cousin lived in Weast, so that was about a 3-4 mile walk. I'd get up and walk down and go to his house because nobody else would be up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the things that we did for fun as well. We were. I remember one thing that we were working on for ages was we wanted to get into this abandoned. It was like an old office. It was just a very small building, and we wanted to get into it. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, we were digging under the fence. And we used to grab the food from the house. Yeah. And I remember for a couple of weekends that it was what we did at the weekend was we dug under this fence to try and get through and under into this building. We used to run on the roof of I remember we got shouted at once because we climbed a wall and there was businesses. I don't even know if you'll know it. There was a row of businesses down Oldham Road and in Failsworth. And it had a tin metal roof. And we used to wind the people up because we'd climb up the wall and then just run across the tin roof of this little factory. And people could come out shouting at us all the time. It was so dangerous. Could have fallen through.
Oh, yeah. I remember playing on building sites, not just when it was shut, but when the workmen were there and like, don't break anything and don't make a mess.
Yeah.
They'd let you play. Scaffolding
health and
like
safety
20 foot up in the air.
Yeah.
Well, there was the tops tiles. There was the tops tiles on Oldham Road at one point when I was little.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Well, behind there was like a junkyard type thing with the sewer. That's where the sewer was. And the guy used to bring out old, like broken tiles and gives us this crate of broken tiles for us to smash and throw against the wall. What? Like, just not
you know what? You probably had the best time of your life doing that.
Oh, yeah, we did. We used to literally throw them at the wall where the guy would, I don't know if they enjoyed watching us from somewhere smashing up tiles, but yeah, we used to see how we could throw and who could throw it the hardest.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, quite destructive. Yeah, we would say.
You was allowed to do it. No one cared.
No.
As long as no one got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, they did get hurt.
As long as no one got hurt. If you got hurt but you got better, no one cared.
No.
It didn't matter. As long as
nobody
died.
I remember, because we're talking about, like technology and stuff now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when I was sort of like in my mid-teens, when I was about to like leave school and that and go to college, we'd started to get like the first home computers and stuff, like Amigas and Spectrums and all that sort of stuff, So I was, my generation was sort of there when all this started, and when we had like home gaming systems and Ataris and all that sort of stuff, And instead of going down to the, games arcades and that, at dinner time when you bunked it off school and that, you could go home and play it on your own TV, and it was like, it was like the most amazing thing ever. It was
Yeah.
It was just like unbelievable. But it's all sort of stemmed from that. I mean, you know, my son doesn't have the same social life that I had when I was his age. You know,
No.
I mean, I was out with all my mates, and now all his mates are just all online. You know, they just talk to each other online, and they never actually see each other. I mean, he's got like a mate who lives in Germany and one that lives in Holland.
Yeah,
that he games with.
Or look at what we do, though. Same thing.
Well,
that's what we're doing now.
I suppose
it makes you wonder how it's going to shape the future, like the kids now, because we still have that in-person encounter.
Yeah.
Which is why we probably are all more likely to keep suggesting to meet up all the time and do stuff. But like, my niece doesn't, like, other people don't. They're not okay. They're not bothered. They'll just have an online friendship. Like, they don't want to. They don't want to meet. And
no, I don't want to see in real life.
How in the future? Yeah, exactly. Like in the future, how that's gonna shape communication skills and all of that. And
like in 40 years, when James is my age, you know, what's is he going to be reminiscing, talking to his mates on Twitch and while they're all living in a virtual reality, you know? I mean, who knows?
But I think there's got to be something to it, because even though we do this virtual podcast and the interviews and all that, I've been lucky enough to meet both of you, Craig and you, Sarah. I met Craig when we did the filming for Amazon. That was up in Rotten Stall.
What a waste of a day that was.
It was good at the time, but how it perspired, it just
nothing came out of it. Really,
it didn't work. No. For whatever the reasons
wasn't what we expected, was it?
No, I don't think it was what they expected. To be fair on them, they couldn't have predicted what was going to happen. It was Amazon being shit, basically. So it's just how it goes sometimes.
There's some footage out there, isn't there, that'll probably surface in about 50 years.
I'm happy if it doesn't, to be honest with you.
But I tell you, Andy will know when I say I think it was a bit of a dodgy place, that, and it wasn't just used for that sort of filming. It was definitely.
It definitely wasn't. Something was found at the side of the toilet.
I found something in the toilet that was.
And I've got a photograph of it.
Have you?
Yeah, I took a photo. Yeah.
Send me away.
I'll tell you the story.
Even I didn't stoop that low, Andy.
Oh, of course.
I was just shocked by what I saw.
Because there's 5, 6 of us that went doing this filming, and then there's the sound guy, the camera guy, and the main. I'm not going to give the names, and the main guy that was doing it. So there's 11 of us. 11 thereabouts. Yeah.
When was it?
It was a couple of years ago now, wasn't it?
Right,
Maybe nearly 3 years ago in September, October. The thing is, he covered our fuel, they fed us for the day, so. But it wasn't their fault. It was Amazon kept changing the goalposts and just being awkward and arsing things up. So it was nobody's fault. It was all good intent.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was just.
Looking back, it's like
a bit of a strange place where it was.
Yeah.
Where it was held.
You have to tell me the story about this.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
I don't think I know any details. So, voice me.
You'd only have to show you the photograph and you'd work it out.
I'll find it. Yeah. It's got to be there somewhere.
Honest to God, I'm like, I looked down and I went, what the?
Because it was Craig who noticed it.
It isn't. Oh, it is.
But then we found that afterwards it was used for that. Yeah. Somebody asked them.
Right. Right. I didn't know that. So my suspicions were.
Yes, I was told later on it was.
Oh, right. Okay.
Adult time in front of the camera. Or something similar. That's what I got told. I don't know how true it is. I'm not going to say who said it, but.
Wouldn't surprise me.
The person wouldn't lie. They'd have no reason to lie about what was done.
Right.
So. I'm not, like I said, I'm not naming names because it's not fair.
There you go.
Oh, right, we are on the 1 hour mark, so we're done. I think this is definitely open for a part 2.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
loads you could talk about.
Yeah.
We can do a part 2 on this, can't we?
We can do a part 2, yeah.
Excellent.
Definitely.
Right.
If you'll have me back on.
Of course. You know you're more than welcome on either of the podcasts. So, so this is our Monday face. That's mine. It's going to be that in about 10 minutes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I'm smiling for a Monday face, but
Freaking smiling because
can't do-
Monday's over.
I can't do a sad face, me.
No. It's like, don't know. It's like I'm being all mad. Don't bother. I think doing it is just because we have a laugh doing this.
It's funny.
So, and it cheers us up. Hopefully it'll cheer everyone else up. Oh, but before we do go, anyone listening or watching, if you would like to come on air and be a guest, then you are more than welcome. You can talk about anything you want other than the paranormal, religion, politics, but I might push it and let you talk about football, even though I don't really want to. So all you have to do is email me at andy@alien8.uk. So ANDY at ALIEN 8 .uk, and that's it. That's all you got to do. So thank you, Craig, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Thanks for
Thank
having me
you,
on.
Sarah, for joining. And I've had a really
Thank
good
you.
laugh.
It's cool.
So if you watch it on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed it too. If you're listening on podcast, then you can also watch it on YouTube and look at the reactions of us all. And yeah, if you really want to push yourself. Right, so on that note, I'm going to go. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Or you'll hear us in a couple of weeks, whichever. See you later. Bye-bye.